here I go again with the lists. What's up guys, DPX here, and today I'm counting down the top 20 Sega Genesis games. This is 20 through 11. So yeah, sit back and enjoy. Now here are the rules. No games that were also on the Super Nintendo are allowed on the list, unless they were ported from the Genesis to the Super Nintendo, or if the two versions differ, like a lot. And also one game per franchise, and no remakes of games. Okay, the Genesis was kind of early of a system to have remakes, but like Mega Man The Wily Wars exists. That's like a compilation remake. Yeah, nothing like that. Also no games that were originally on the Sega Master System. So games like Altered Beast are out. But at least Altered Beast is good. I'm saying that like there are not many good games, but also let's begin. Though Sonic might have been Sega's answer to Mario, Kid Chameleon was probably the Mario of the Sega Genesis, at least gameplay wise. Maybe not gameplay wise, but definitely like level design wise. Kid Chameleon is a game that it's one of my personal favorite Sega Genesis games, and it's only at number 20. See how hard this list was? Yeah. Kid Chameleon, you play as, I guess this kid's name is Kid Chameleon, and you go around beating up enemies and like, it's a fun game. And not to mention, there are so many power-ups, like, oh my god. To be honest, there are actually 9 power-ups, like 9 helmets you can get, and that was less than I thought. But let's be real here, you can turn into a knight, a samurai, a reaper or whatever. Totally tubular. Kid Chameleon is a great game. You see how hard this list was? Only making it number 20. That's Sarah. XMen 2, The Clone Wars is at number 19. Okay, first of all, I'm sorry about the gameplay, because I suck at this game. I mean, seriously, I suck so bad. And, my skill at this game aside, it's really good. That's why it's on the list. XMen 2, The Clone Wars is, of course, another X-Men installment. We get to pick between 6 X-Men: Wolverine, Beast, Cyclops, Gambit, Nightcrawler, and Psylocke. And this game is one of the best games on the Genesis, and it was also hard to put it only at number 19. Now, if you compare the Genesis and the Super Nintendo with like how much, like what better RPGs they have, there's no question Super Nintendo has way more RPGs and much better ones. But gotta give the nod to Phantasy Star, the end of the millennium. Or just Phantasy Star 4, like how everyone else in the frickin' world says it. You know what? I say it like that too. But it doesn't matter how I say the name of the goddamn game. The game's good. Like, I'm not really doing much in the gameplay, but the game is good. I said it was one of the best RPGs of all time, and really, that list is so outdated. I made that in, like, my first year of YouTube. Gotta do a new list. Anyways, Phantasy Star 4 is the definitive title in the Phantasy Star franchise. Sure, the online games are good, and Phantasy Star 2 on the Sega Master System that everyone loves is pretty good too. But this is the shit. And it's only at number 18. Who's to say this is the only JRPG on the list? Or just the only RPG on the list? Foreshadowing, you say? I'm not gonna answer that. Oh, Contra, do you have a single game in your franchise that isn't difficult? I don't think so. Definitely one of the hardest games in the Contra franchise is probably Contra Hard Corpse. Now, the reason why it's not higher is because it's so hard that it's kind of hard to play. Hence the word Hard Corpse in the title. Well, that's 2 words, but arguably the hardest game on the Sega Genesis, yeah, that much. See, look, I died. I got game over. You get hit once, you're dead. Get hit like 3-4 times, game over. But let's not talk about that. In this game you get to play as a wolf. That's freaking awesome. Being one of the best games in the Contra franchise, Contra Hard Corpse is a nice game on the Sega Genesis, and you get to blast everything. Yeah. Konami was one of the kings of the Super Nintendo, but they made a few good games on the... Look, I died again. They did make a few good games on the Genesis. This was one of them. But is it the only one? You guys should have expected this to be on the list. Toe Jam and Earl. Now, there are actually 2 Toe Jam and Earl games. Toe Jam and Earl and Toe Jam and Earl on Funkatron Island or something. But I went with Toe Jam and Earl, like the original, because it's a classic, and though it may not seem... It might seem boring in the gameplay I'm showing, everyone could agree that this game is just one of the greatest games on the Genesis. Toe Jam and Earl were considered 2 of Sega's mascots back in the day. Though they are sort of forgotten mascots and what's going on with the gameplay. And I died. That wasn't fair. But anyways, Toe Jam and Earl is one game that, if you have a Genesis, you most likely have. And you should play. Let's just hope for the best for Back in the Groove, though. Please be good. Beyond Oasis. This is like an action adventure fantasy game that is, well, really good, which is why it's on the list. Beyond Oasis is, this looks great. Like, even the cutscenes, well, it didn't really have cutscenes, but like, you know what I mean, like the opening scene. Like, this is really well polished, and definitely there's a play. It's sort of like an overhead view. No, I was gonna say it's sort of an overhead beat 'em up, but kind of. But I mean, it feels a little bit like Zelda. You should play this. It's really good. It's not like a Zelda clone, okay? Alright. The game is good. Shining Force 2 is debatably better than Phantasy Star 4. And Phantasy Star 4 is debatably better than Shining Force 2. Look, Shining Force 2 stands out to me more. What I mean by that is, it looks nice and everything. I mean, sure, Phantasy Star 4 is great, but Shining Force 2 is... I'm sorry guys, but Shining Force 2 is better. I said that. Shining Force 2 is... Again, Sega was not really known for making many RPGs, but this may have been one of the best RPGs ever. Again, I put this on as one of the best RPGs of all time on my top 10 RPGs list, all the way back. But that list is so outdated. Yeah. Shining Force 2. Konami struck again on the Genesis. Rocket Knight Adventures, though, may not be the most fair game on the Genesis, especially with a bunch of enemies coming at you at once. It's definitely one of the best. And, seriously, Sparkster should have became a household name in the 90s. Wonder what held him back from there. Oh yeah. Anyways, you play a Sparkster who is a possum knight. It's got a good ring to it. And you just blow shit up. Like, just like Contra Hard Corps, how you blow everything up, and in XMen 2, the Clone Wars, how you blow everything up. The Genesis kind of had a lot of blowing stuff up. This is one game that... it's good, okay? Ninjas. Sega needed one. Like, there was Ryu Hayabusa from Ninja Gaiden, so there was Joe Musashi from Shinobi. And the Shinobi game I chose was Shinobi 3. Return of the Ninja Master. One of my personal favorite games on the Genesis. Shinobi 3 is where you play as Ninja Joe, trying to rescue kids from being captured. That's cool. At least I believe that's the. There are so many. There's a lot of variety in this game, and it looks pretty good. I mean, seriously. I don't really know what to say, it's just good. But ninjas, eh? Thought I had a game with one somewhere. Oh yeah! Yeah. I couldn't be more obvious after I said it. Strider is definitely... Yeah, as you can see, I'm just keep slashing my blade here. And Strider is... Oh yeah, pretend I didn't die there, because that never happened. Okay, Strider is very difficult. But still, it's a kind of a franchise Capcom doesn't really do much with, though it did have a pretty good remake a few years ago. Suggest you go play that. But Strider is definitely one of the best games on the Genesis. It's like, you should have expected this game here, but it barely missed the top 10. But and I didn't just die there, okay? And Strider, you play as Strider Hiryu. Or, like, in Japan, this game is also called that with an extra U in Hiryu. Because, I don't know, Japan. And Strider is, you play as the ninja Strider and fighting these robots, like robot monkeys, this wrestler dude that you see, and also a bunch of fire drops, and then I die, and I get a game over. Strider's a good game, okay? I'm making it sound like it's bad, but it's a good game. The 11th best game on the Genesis. I got a game over, but barely misses the top 10. Tons of great Genesis games out there that I probably missed, which is probably the reason why this is the entire list that run. So, stay tuned next time while I count down 10 through 1. Alright guys, bye.